I was a very late addition to the ticket, which means that I didn't prepare a PowerPoint and I barely got time to prepare a few thoughts. They thought I might be useful because they looked through my website and saw that, hey, you're involved in microcredit. And I said, yes, we have a microcredit revolving loan fund. It's small, at $500,000, but that doesn't qualify us to speak on a panel like this of experts in social finance and banking. So what I can do, I can tell you a little bit about that, and I can just give you then some of my general thoughts on social finance as somebody involved in the social enterprise sector in Ireland and where we're coming from and where we're at. So I'll share that and hopefully it might be of some use. As I say, our own microloan fund is quite small and doesn't lend to social enterprises. That's because of the way it was set up. But it has some good things. It costs us nothing to run, so we don't pay anybody to run it. We are an A to Z enterprise development company, so we deal with micro entrepreneurs, atypical entrepreneurs, and we will sort of help them because they can't find a job or the self-employment might be their only option. And we'll work with them through pre-enterprise and business planning and all of this. By the time they're ready to need a loan, we know them very well. We've probably written their business plan for them. So it's a kind of, we've an insider track on whether they should be given a loan or not. And generally small loans, up to, again, the same figure, about 5,000, although sometimes we go up to 20 if needs be. And we just charge 1% over the bank rate. So if I were just talking about our microloan fund, that would be the end of my contribution, and you'd have saved about 14 minutes. But I thought I'll give you just some little background on the other developments that's happening. I should say that sort of these are my own personal views. Although I'm getting courage, I've discerned that a few people today, particularly in the afternoon part, are saying things that they fear might be a little bit provocative. And it's kind of, and they're prefacing it. But that's good. That means that we're starting to break, we're starting a little bit of the Schumpeterian creative destruction here. We're breaking out of some paradigms and asking questions to make sure that maybe we're going the right direction. And I think particularly here in Slovenia, I've had some highs and lows so far today. I was very encouraged by what your president had to say and your minister for the economy. I thought, they get it. They're where we're at. And I thought that this looks like Slovenia is going to leapfrog the 20 years of learning that we've had to do before we're where we are now. But then some other things happened and I thought, oh, maybe they're going to have to learn the long, hard way too. Sorry. So, if I'm going to sound a little bit critical of social finance or less than fully respectful of it, I don't mean to be, because social finance has played a hugely important role and continues to play a hugely important role in this sector. I should again admit that I'm the third speaker in a row who's an outsider. I have come from outside the sector. I am, in my heart of hearts, a corporate commercial being. I kind of think the same way. I look for the things that don't make sense, and and then they shouldn't be there if they don't make sense to me. But some of the reasons why social finance has made sense and why there has been a definite need for it has been that the kind of projects that would never have got off the ground without it, things like situations where there's a community greenfield development to happen, there's no track record, completely unbankable in the normal banking scenario, and social finance rides in and provides the potential for that to happen. Or in situations where a business has a high dependency on state supports, the grant mentality. By the way, a lot of private commercial organizations get a lot of state subvention. in my country at the moment, the banks are getting 1,000% state subvention. So there is nothing wrong with state subvention from time to time. Sometimes in this sector we kind of are a little bit ashamed of the fact that there might be grant aid. But I hope, certainly in Ireland, I'll never be ashamed again of state intervention. Obviously, other scenarios of where there's fundraising which has yet to be established and there's a need for upfronting of the money which will come in, or projects where there's a small shortfall, or where there's bridging required to get something off the ground. So in all of these kind of scenarios, as in microcredit or for micro enterprise, the kind of micro enterprises we support are high risk. These are people who, well, let me put it this way, a few very short years ago, 3 maybe, in Ireland we were at virtual full employment, i.e. 4% is what they say is full employment. So you can imagine the kind of clients we had who were trying to start up a micro enterprise because they couldn't find employment. Pretty unbankable. And yet we were there. We were there to help with credit when that was the only source available to them. And it was right that we would, when we felt it was justified and when we felt that with our help they could move on to providing for themselves. Just a little bit of the kind of the path we've taken in Ireland over the last, let's say maybe particularly 10 years. I think one of the signs of all entrepreneurship is sort of how they assemble the resources. And charities and sort of non-profits and social enterprises have been very adept at leveraging resources where sort of it seems like magic, you know, it's out of nothing, and yet they manage to pull bits and pieces together. In my own organization that started in 1984, we're sustainable now because we have 4 large enterprise centres housing over 130 businesses. And we started as a community group with nothing. And bit by bit, sort of leveraged a bit here, a bit there, grew to the stage where we're now effectively fully sustainable. So leveraging is nothing new. Leveraging out of nothing is nothing new to an entrepreneur, and it's nothing new to charities and social entrepreneurs. However, I suppose the state feels it needs to do something. It needs to sort of put some order on the system. And there have been a series of measures in Ireland to do that. In 2003, a possible model for the development of social finance was proposed. And it took the form of special measures that would be required. You know, but I think when you analyse it back, and that's not that long ago, 8 years ago, and you look and you see that the mindset was, help us out. We're this little sideline sector over here. Poor us. We need help. We need special provisions. We need charity. And that was considered absolutely appropriate. So there were things like looking for special supports or derogations from legislation, or tax breaks, other capacity building interventions. But it was still coming very much from the point of us being underdogs in society. Things moved on, and in 2007 the government initiated the Social Finance Foundation. And basically it was created to take money from the banks, so force the banks to lend. So each of the banks had to contribute some capital to the Social Finance Foundation, which then lent it on in the form of social finance. Since the development of the Social Finance Foundation, it has helped in sort of creating development loans for suitable projects that basically would be bankable. However, the figures are that so far in the last 3 years it has loaned 28 million. It has approved 28 million. 15 million has been drawn down and 5 million already repaid. However, the Social Finance Foundation didn't address the need for things like startup capital or equity or other mechanisms that would be available to a regular enterprise that was setting up. In 2010, just last year, I was part of the Social Enterprise Task Force, and we issued our report on how social enterprise should move forward in Ireland. And as part of that, obviously, we had to address the social finance area. And there was a marked difference from some years previous. The report took the approach that social enterprise was a part of the real economy. It was not something aside, it was not something apart. It was a strand, a legitimate standalone strand, as any other industry in the economy is, of the real economy. It had the capacity to achieve growth in employment. It could deliver output. The report recognized that at that point in time, the social enterprise sector accounted for 3% of GDP, and that could grow to 5% and create 65,000 jobs. I suppose Tom would immediately see that now you've got the politicians' interest. You've pushed two hot buttons, jobs and GDP. You're talking their language. And I think it was also a sign of maturity in the sector that we approached the whole issue from the point of view of mainstreaming into the greater economy. It proposed various ways that this could be done, which, when you hear them, sort of sound self-evident and sort of common sense. That social enterprise should be incorporated into economic planning and development strategies right from the beginning. They're not. When at national level or local municipal level they sit down to discuss economic and development strategies, social enterprise isn't at the table. If you're not there at that stage, you're not going to be knitted in. And you will end up as a sort of a tack-on piece at the end, which is tokenism. It suggested that the existing support structures and funding mechanisms that already exist for the business sector, for the SME sector, should be enhanced to include social enterprises. We have the ridiculous situation where state agencies and quangos that support SMEs are specifically excluded from supporting social enterprises. It also suggested that there should be the development of a range of flexible finance options, including equity-type instruments, as we were talking about the social impact bonds and that type of thing. The type of instruments available in the business world should be available in the world of social enterprise. Also, I mean, credit unions are a very successful part of the Irish financial scene. By law, they are not allowed to lend to social enterprises, to charities, to organizations who have the limited guarantee without share capital. So again, it said, look, unleash that possibility to us. There's a reverse benefit also from this type of approach, and that is that social enterprises will benefit because they will then have to start applying the same rigorous standards of business planning, financial accounting, financial forecasting that regular businesses have to do. You know, let's talk the same language. This is necessary anyway within the world of social economy, social enterprise. And I think it would enhance the governance of social enterprises that we take on board these rigorous financial practices. So I'll conclude by saying that as the world of social enterprise, and I'm saying social enterprise as distinct from charity, I do accept that charity and microcredit will continue to need their own special interventions to certain degrees. So I'm talking about social enterprises. But as they mature and adopt more sound financial principles and sound professional management principles, they will start to demand a level playing field. And if, as I believe that will continue more and more, if that is going to be the case, I think the true question then is, how different should social finance look to mainstream finance? And I'll let you answer the question. Thank you.